Hello there. This is Jedi General of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are listening to Jedi Eternal.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Jedi Eternal. I am one of your hosts, Andrew Bolin, alongside the Fresh Dew, Braxton Taylor.
Fresh Dew. That's right. That's
You
right.
got that fresh cut.
Yeah, I had to get my drip game up. I was not nearly as
building
drippy.
up that Riz.
Yeah, that skibbity
Those Riz gains.
Yeah, I know. I've been growing my hair out for I've had like trims, but basically over a year now.
Yeah.
And I decided I just really wanted to cut it because I'm getting sick and tired of it being so long. So yeah,
I mean,
here we are.
it's still long on the top, though.
It's longer on the top, yeah. I mean, it's not. I would say it's much longer than what you have, though. I mean, to some degree.
I don't know. Maybe we should pull out a ruler and measure.
Measure hairs.
I feel like yours looks longer than mine, but maybe
it could be just that like my hair's longer. Like you have it kind of one side shaved off, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know.
So anyway, hope everybody's doing good. Not enough about my haircut.
Yeah. So. The Bad Batch just came out.
The Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch Season 3, the final season, just came out. And so at the end of our episode today, we will be discussing that, reviewing it.
Yes.
So make sure you stick around for that. Also, Braxton, last time I saw you was an interesting day.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, did I tell you what happened after that? Did I tell you what happened after?
At this point in time, I don't know what you're even talking about. I can't remember.
So last time we were together, we went and saw a movie, and during that movie, I had to leave.
Oh,
and I
yes,
I went and threw up in the bathroom of the theater.
That just goes to show you folks how bad Madam Web was. He had to throw up during the movie.
Yes, went and saw Madam Web. Wow. If I could take back that time, I would. Truly not a worse movie that I can think of.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Yeah.
Anytime recently like that, it was the worst movie I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And so I threw up at the theater, and then you took me home.
I did.
And I continued to profusely throw up for for 5 hours straight.
Oh my gosh.
With like no breaks in between. I thought I was dying. I almost had my dad take me to the ER.
Bro, I had to get like an IV tap to get some.
I seriously thought maybe I was gonna have to, but then it went away after about 5 hours.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. So
if you have to go and vomit at a movie theater, you're not doing too good.
You're in serious condition, right? Because especially if you know me.
Yeah.
Because I don't even like using the bathroom in public places.
Yeah.
Let alone having to like put my face up to the toilet of a public restroom. Okay.
So, folks, how bad that was.
Let me tell you though. Thank God. And listen, I don't, to everyone's belief systems out there, everyone may have different beliefs, but to me, there's never been a more obvious sign that God is real when I had to go in there and the toilet was clean. Everything was clean in there. And I've been in that bathroom before, and I've seen, it's been, and that it looked like somebody had just scrubbed everywhere in there. And I was like,
there is a God.
There is a God. But anyway, so it was a rough week for me last week, but hey, I feel great right now. Everything is back to normal, and so I want to thank you all for joining us today. Just a quick reminder that you can be a Patreon producer, and there's a lot of benefits that come with that, including that getting this podcast usually about 2 days early. As well as getting shout-outs on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And you also get an exclusive podcast called And Other Stuff. Hopefully we'll be getting another episode of that out here in the near future. So now would be a good time to go ahead and sign up for that for only $5. And you can find that link on our Facebook through our link tree. There you will see all of our links, including our Patreon. So without further ado, we will go ahead and thank our current Patreon producers, and that includes JB, Joshin Birkinshaw, Tara Bolin, Grayson David Gill, Alex Mason, Corey Wise, Jay Camdar, Jenna, Caleb Luna, and Alex. So we thank you all so much and greatly appreciate your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, guys, we always talk about it, and we harp on it every episode, but we really do appreciate you guys subscribing. And if you guys are listening and you haven't done it yet, there's no pressure. But that being said, it's only $5 a month. You can join for 1 month and quit to see if you like it or not. And when you join, even if you join for 1 month, you get instant access to all of the previous episodes that are available.
And honestly, if you're like you just want access to what we have, join it for a month. Catch up on all of it and cancel if you wish. I mean,
don't do that.
That's not really what we want, but we don't. We won't judge you if you do that.
No.
But those of you who have continued to support us from the get-go, despite we know that you don't necessarily have to do that, we do thank you, and we know those of you who have done that, so we thank you very much.
So anyway, we appreciate it, guys, but we're gonna wrap that up so you don't have to hear about it anymore. But we're gonna go ahead and move into the first segment of our podcast, as we've been doing in season 2, and that is our fun facts and trivia. So for this week's fun facts, I have 2 of them for you. So, first one is, first of all, backing up a little bit, it's coming from Star Wars Fascinating Facts, Story, Lore, and History from the Greatest Galaxy, written by Pablo Hidalgo. So the first fact this week is called Like Ewok, Like Wakling. Warwick Davis played the role of Wicket W. Warwick when he was only 11 years old for The Return of the Jedi. For a brief cameo in The Rise of Skywalker, he reprised his first on-screen role and passed the tradition onto his actual son, Harrison, who joined him in Ewok costume to play Wicket's son, Pommet. Wicket has indeed produced an offspring, said Warwick. He's older and wiser, and he has a little scamp to handle now. Just a wee little scamp.
Just a wee little scamp.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. We got to see Warwick in Celebration 2019. I mean, he's usually at most of them, but it was pretty cool to see him, and to see the legacy passed on. That's pretty cool too. So the second, let's make sure I'm looking at the right one here. Here we go. The second fun fact for the week is called Where the Greys Come From. So the Kaminoans closely resemble the aliens of UFO conspiracy culture, the so-called Greys, that the U.S. government is supposedly holding prisoner at Area 51, and who are responsible for a rash of abductions and cattle mutilations and other odd occurrences in fringe folklore. George Lucas specifically requested the look as a nod to that mythology and an homage to his pal Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He envisioned them, hailing from an oceanic world, as the ocean is the cradle of all life. They are recreating life there, he said, and the Kaminoans are creatures that began life in the sea. So, it's kind of an interesting fact, and, there's actually a kind of a storied history between George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, because that's not the only occurrence where they go back and forth. Of course, in E.T., we see Yoda, and also in Revenge of the Sith, maybe in other movies too, but in Revenge of the Sith, when they're in the Senate council room, you see the E.T.
Was it Revenge of the Sith? I was actually thinking it was Phantom Menace.
I don't know. Okay, it's one of the prequel movies.
I don't remember.
It doesn't really matter. But one of the ones that they're in the Senate chambers, you actually see the E.T.
There's like 3 of them.
Yeah. So anyway, it's pretty cool. I know that they're good friends, and so it's always kind of cool to see those nods back and forth. So anyway, that is our fun facts for the week. But now here is your trivia question, and that is, what were the jobs that Luke's aunt and uncle worked on Tatooine? So what were the jobs that Luke's aunt and uncle worked on Tatooine? So we will let you guys think about that. Comment in the chat, and don't cheat. Don't go looking for those answers. Put your answers in the chat, and we will discuss the actual answer at the end of this episode.
Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into our news. So this week at Star Wars, and our first one here is pretty cool, I would say. It is that the Phantom Menace is returning to theaters in May. So we got a brand spanking new poster to celebrate this. It's briefly returning to theaters. on starting May 3rd to celebrate its 25th anniversary.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why it's happening, because it's the 25th anniversary. It doesn't seem that long ago, does it?
Right, it's crazy. And so, yeah, it's going to be starting May 3rd and only May 3rd through the 5th, I think. So you only have a couple of days, just that Friday to Sunday, to be able to go and see it. So,
Yeah,
this would be a perfect opportunity. Of course, that also falls on May the 4th, which is, of course, Star Wars Day.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a really fun way to celebrate Star Wars Day if you can, to go and see that. So I would highly recommend that you do so, especially if you didn't get to go see it in theaters the first time it came out, which I did not.
Yeah,
I was only 5 years old, so and
Yeah.
my parents didn't care to go see it, so
Right.
but yeah, so I'm definitely excited to be able to do that. So
Yeah, very cool. So the next news piece that we have for this week ties into our first one, and that in this 25th year, anniversary of Phantom Menace, they're kind of releasing a bunch of things. They're releasing this new re-release of the movie in theaters, but they're also releasing a anniversary comic, and supposedly this Star Wars comic will be expanding the Phantom Menace story, which is very interesting.
yes, so it's by Greg Pak, who has done Darth Vader, some of the Darth Vader comics, and they're saying this is a huge issue which will tell revelatory stories. According to its official synopsis, explore the earliest days and secret inner life of Anakin Skywalker with never-before-seen stories set before, after, and between the scenes of the classic movie.
Wow.
Featuring the dream of a Jedi, the gift of a Tusken Raider, the heart of a Gungan, the ache of a mother, and the horror of a hero.
Ooh.
So that'll be,
Yeah.
I'm sure, very interesting.
For sure.
And kind of a fun way to, again, celebrate that 25th anniversary.
Absolutely.
So moving on, we got a cover reveal for the next High Republic adult novel, Temptation of the Force. So this is looking very good. This is the novel by Tessa Gratton. It is the second of the adult novels in the final phase of the High Republic. And what we're seeing here is we have Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann, both on the cover here. Elzar Mann very much looking like Stellan Gaios, which is intentional, actually. He starts to grow out his beard and stuff, kind of in honor of him and like in remembrance of him, to the point even his hair, he's grown his hair out like Stellan too. So
pretty
kind of
cool.
interesting, kind of cool, to see that. And so I am a huge fan of the High Republic series.
Oh, yeah.
As I think we both expressed, the last adult novel we weren't super high on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that this one kind of turns things around and gets a little more into the exciting aspects of the story.
Yeah.
The last one, I don't know that we ever did like a full review, but just to kind of hint on it a little bit here, the last one was very much like kind of catching you up on what everyone had been doing in the year since the previous book, back in phase 1.
Yeah.
And so it kind of caught you up on where everybody was at, and then really by the end of it, it's just kind of like, okay, the stage is set. The
stage is set.
So now we can really take it to the races, and Yeah,
I thought it was maybe a little bit of a waste, just because
Sure.
I mean, we have a several 100-page book that just essentially tells us what we already know and sets the stage for what's to come.
Not a whole lot of big things happen within the book, and so I'm in agreement with you. I think we both kind of agreed that it felt kind of like a wasted opportunity there. But so I'm hoping that this one really turns that around. Tessa Gratton being the author is interesting because so far she has only written, I believe, in the young adult novels or even the junior novels, but this is her first of the adult novels, so that's very interesting to see. And I would say because of that, we'll probably get more of Vernestra Rowe, because she was very popular character in her other books that she's written, Tessa written, and also Vernestra being a character that is going to be in the Acolyte. So
yeah.
they obviously want to keep a pretty big focus on her because
Right.
she's going to be a big character. So
Yeah.
and actually, she's a really great character. I actually really like her character. And so this does say that this book will also focus on Avar, Elzar, Buriaga, Bel-Zettifar, and then Vernestra as they hunt down Nihil leader Mark Yonro. So
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that they are going to need to cover in this final phase, and I'm excited to see this second adult novel where they take it. Like you said, I mean, I think they have to really have a lot of story building and action in this book, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I guess we'll
and
see what we get.
One other thing she says, all my favorite parts of writing for the High Republic are in here. Discussions about the nature of the Force and the role of the Jedi in the galaxy, forbidden Jedi romance, banter, and daring lightsaber duels, the generations-old Graf Santeca feud, messy Elzar, Evereni lore, and hints about the history of the Roe family and the mysteries of the Nameless.
Very interesting.
So she also says things that were seeded in Phase 2 get to blossom. So
interesting. Yeah, which I think and a lot of people didn't really follow Phase 2 nearly as much, obviously.
Yeah.
So anyway, it'll be interesting to see with this book how it all ties that together and really propels the story. So anyway, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, because I've said many times at this point on the podcast that I've yet to see what happened in Phase 2 feel like it truly mattered enough to have that break and go back and do that. I've seen connections, but nothing that makes me go, oh, this was absolutely necessary.
Right.
So we'll see. Maybe this book will change my mind. But
we'll see, and time will only tell. So once it comes out, we're gonna
date on
read
that is maybe we don't have a date. It just says this summer. I don't know if there's a.
Yeah.
This just says this summer, so I don't know if there's an. Oh, never mind. June 11th. There you go. June 11th.
Yeah. So like I said, we're gonna read that and have to tell you what we think from there. So
for sure.
So our fourth news piece for this week is that Andor Season 2 actually wraps up filming. As we know, there were some delays and things due to the writer's strike and all that good stuff. But so after a lot of the delays, supposedly now that the Andor Season 2 is wrapping up filming.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting because we had just talked about it last episode that we thought that it was still filming at the time, and that because I think in our discussions, community discussions, somebody had mentioned they were hoping we were getting it this year, and I had expressed that I kind of doubted it because I was pretty sure they were still filming.
Yeah.
Well, so Diego Luna posted just I think this past week that it was their last day of filming, and so he's kind of just doing like a thank you thank you note. And so with that, I think that to me pretty much confirms that we won't see this till next year.
Yeah, that's my thought as well. Because some people were like, well, it's done filming, so they could hurry up and do this, and then we get maybe like a December release. And I'm like, I don't think so.
I would be extremely shocked.
So.
I think
we're more like
this...
a March. If that, you know what I'm saying, a March 2025 release, but
I'm leaning towards that. Yeah, probably somewhere along there. We'll get Andor, and what that's probably exactly around 2 years since we got the first season.
Yeah, I think so.
Last year we got
beginning of last year. I would say
right?
it was probably around that March timeline,
something like that. So that would be around 2 years. So that all kind of pieces together, right, and makes sense to me. But anyways, it'll be exciting when it gets here. So sure. As soon as we hear more, we'll let you guys know.
For sure.
Let's go ahead and jump to our next story here, and this is our final story for the day.
It's
Star
an exciting
Wars
one.
Battlefront Classic Collection is coming to Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. So this is coming out on March 14th, and it is a bundle of the 2 original games with new maps, characters, and more. Now, when I say the original games, this might be confusing to some people. Depending on your age. If you were younger, you may think that means it is the 2 games,
EA games,
the 2 EA games that have come out on Xbox, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's actually not the case here. This is the original Battlefront games, which came out on, well, I guess it would have been Xbox.
I think it was like original Xbox was
Was
like
it the original?
One.
Yeah, I think the original
so.
Xbox,
like PS2,
and the PS2, yeah, and PC, of course. But it's been a long time ago, and so these two games they're here with as a bundle, and it does actually come with some new maps, characters, and more. So one of the new characters that they announced was Kit Fisto and Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
So that's cool.
And also too. I literally forgot what I was gonna say. Oh my gosh!
Your face was hilarious.
Just like left my brain as what I was about to say. But they're also, from what I can tell, revitalizing the multiplayer. Like that, it should actually have multiplayer capabilities.
Yeah, it's it does appear that the multiplayer like works, so that's really cool. It does also. There's a new map, Jabba's Palace. And let's see here. They also have the Hero Assault mode, which has been updated. So that's where you can play as, like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, etc.
Yeah.
And it says Hero Assault can be played on all ground maps for the first time with the Classic Collection. So
that's gonna be cool.
I know there's a lot of people that are huge fans of those originals. I mean, well, me included. I have so many memories of playing them, and I would spend a long time just being Obi-Wan Kenobi, and just just jumping around, and you just felt like such an amazing Jedi in those games at the time.
Oh, I know. And I love that the classic menu, or the menu, but the location selection,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I had that game on PSP, actually, Battlefront 2. And so what's funny is they actually released a special edition PSP that was all white and had Darth Vader on the back, and it came with Battlefront 2. And I remember playing that so much. Good memories.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of good memories here, and I think that's what this is made for, is kind of that nostalgia factor. What I will say, and for me, this is where it kind of bums me out a little bit, is I wish that this was more than just like a bundle package with a few new things. I kind of wish they went the extra mile and made this like a remaster, so that they really kind of improve the graphics and all of that, where they don't really say anything about that. So I think it's pretty much supposed to look basically the same as it did before,
right?
And so me being someone who doesn't really usually go back and play things over again and stuff, I mean, most likely I probably won't get this.
Yeah, right.
But I totally see the appeal for those who enjoy kind of reliving those classics, and excited for those who get to do it, or maybe never have played them, and we'll get to just kind of have fun with it for the first time. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. In a lot of ways, they are better than the ones we got later. So
yeah, I always it's funny because I played the first two quite a bit, and then I played the other two later on, and I always just felt like those first two just felt so much more like Star Wars to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know how to explain that necessarily, because there's all the elements in the new games there, and I do think that the second one did it better than the first one, but I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's just that I was younger, and maybe it's my selective memory, but
well, and that's the thing, right? Is maybe it is. Maybe if we were to go back, maybe if we did get the bundle, and then we played it, we'd be like, ooh, it's like,
it's not as good as I thought it was. Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody gift it for us and we'll stream it. How about that?
Exactly. We'll take that burden for you.
We'll stream it and we can let you guys know if it's any good.
Exactly.
But I'm probably not going to buy it myself. So if you want us to play it, you can gift it to us.
Exactly. Give us money.
I don't even know. Did it say how much it was going to be?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Not on this article, but that doesn't necessarily mean the information's not out there. But
yeah.
Surely it's not like a, I can't imagine this is going to be a $60 game. So
actually being like a $40.
Yeah, 30 or 40 maybe, something like that. But even then, I don't think I would want to spend that money on it. So, but let's go ahead and jump into our rumors.
Yes.
So we're gonna we have a couple of rumors here today. This is a really big one that actually a lot of trusted sources are sharing. So honestly, I kind of lean more toward this being more than just a rumor, but I'm putting it in rumor because we do not have any, like, Disney's not saying this is the case. But Collider has an update on the whole Acolyte release. I think at some point we talked about that it looked like it was a summer window. That may have even been our last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now there is an official date that they have, and that is June 5th.
Ooh.
So that is so close, right?
So much closer than we thought.
Yeah. To me, that's extremely exciting. It's one of those things, nothing has been officially announced, right? So this is... that's why we have it in rumors. But what I will say is typically the marketing windows for Star Wars shows have been in that 3-month range. So we're getting really close to that threshold. So if we're going to see anything, it could be really soon.
Yeah.
Supposedly, Daniel Richmond said on his page, and he is an insider, he says that a trailer is ready for Acolyte as well as for Skeleton Crew.
Interesting.
So there's 2 trailers out there ready to go, ready to drop when they're ready to show them. So, so I think that there's a really good chance that we could be seeing the first trailer for this at any point. And I don't think it has to be on a special day. I mean, I know we have like May the 4th, but I think they're going to want to show it before.
Well,
then,
and
so.
if they're truly wanting to have this June 5th release date, I mean, doing it, a month before, dropping the first trailer a month before, I don't know if that's the best decision. So, and like this was saying, this is only a handful of months away from now. And so I do find it a little odd, of course, that we're not, seeing any sort of trailers or anything yet. But, like you said, if it drops like any time now, okay, then that might make more sense. So, yeah, we'll see if that comes into fruition. Because if so, that'd be pretty exciting. Because I along with you and a lot of people, I think are pretty excited for the Acolyte. So,
for sure, yeah.
We'll see when that comes out.
It's got a lot to prove. And I really, really just want them to hit it out of the park.
Yeah,
I really do.
Me too.
So, that first trailer could be the beginnings of a lot of excitement in the Star Wars community. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last rumor that we have for today, because not nearly as many rumors as we did our news, but that is Respawn, which are the makers of the Titanfall games and more applicably to Star Wars, the Jedi Order games, right? So Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. They are actually, supposedly, should I say, developing a first-person Mandalorian game. This is something that we've actually have heard a long time ago, and it kind of just fell off the radar. And just recently, we've been kind of hearing some rumors towards that much sooner. So, I don't know. Drew, what do we got on that?
Yeah, so according to sources, the game will see the player take control of a Mandalorian bounty hunter, unclear who, set during the time when the Galactic Empire is dominating across the galaxy. It is your job as a bounty hunter to capture bounties dead or alive for cash rewards. Jeff Grubb is the person who first reported this, and I will say he usually knows what he's talking about. But he said that the game will be focused on mobility and style as guiding principles. So,
Interesting.
This, when you think about Respawn, of course, it makes sense. Again, Respawn, the creators of Titanfall, right? So if you think about that kind of movement, right? If they take that kind of movement and then apply it to Star Wars and a bounty hunter with a jetpack and all of that, I think that, you can, I could see the vision there.
Yeah.
But of course, Respawn, more than just that, right? They're also the creators of
we got like Apex Legends.
And
they did a Medal of Honor game, I think.
Yeah, and even even in Star Wars they did the Jedi series.
Oh well, yeah.
So they already have their hands in all of it. So how they're managing to do all of this at the same time, I'm not sure, but
Right.
they must have a really big team there. But I think that this could be really good, and being a bounty hunter, a Mandalorian.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool idea. I mean, the premise sounds really fun, honestly.
Yeah, and it could be really fun. So I think that if they can, as long as they can nail it right, then and do it, I think for me, don't make this an open world. Make this a linear, Hollywood packed blockbuster game, in my opinion. In terms of like a Call of Duty campaign. And
yeah. See,
for
but the
me,
problem, I do think that kind of almost runs against the premise of like what it is, though. It's like being a bounty hunter is like, oh, you have these super linear things. Well, a bounty hunter would be like, oh, there's this open world. You go pick up bounties and stuff. Which the thing is as an open world lover, I can see how that could get repetitive.
Yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from. I think for me, for this, I think I would want it to be more like, of course you're going to go get bounties, but it's more of a set scenario, right? And
which if they have a good story to go with it, then yeah,
and have a lot of like set pieces, so to speak, and I think that's what I would want from this, because Respawn already does the more open world style with their Jedi games, not fully open world, but open map,
open sections,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that's a lot more discovery based and things. So I think for
which
me,
ironically, I feel like that would be better for the Mandalorian game, and not the linear would be better for the Jedi games. But
sure.
Anyway,
sure. I mean, I feel that, and maybe they'll kind of do it in the middle, kind of like Jedi does. But
yeah, we'll see.
Anyways, no matter what they do, this is definitely going to be, I think, an exciting game that is, I think they're in good hands with Respawn.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
I think that when we do see this, which it gives no idea of when this game will be released, but I would say it's probably still quite a ways off.
Right.
So, but when it does come, I'll be playing it.
Oh
I can
yeah,
guarantee that. So
100%, me too, of course. So yeah, that kind of ends us off on our rumors for the week. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and start talking about our main topic, and that, of course, is the review of Bad Batch Season 3, Episodes 1 through 3. Because those dropped as kind of like a triple header release there, premiere. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get into that now.
Yeah, so as we've stated many times on the podcast, we are not super huge Bad Batch fans.
Bad Batchers.
There have been episodes we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But there's also been a lot of episodes we did not care about, and some we hated.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So just kind of throwing that out there first. That doesn't mean that we don't want to take away from your joy if you do really enjoy the Bad Batch. More power to you if you do. But this being a new season, we're kind of starting off fresh here.
And it's the final season,
and
too.
It's the final
right?
season.
So.
I came in with a little more excitement than I had with previous seasons because of where we left off and kind of some of the expectations that we're expecting for this. So I came in with a little more excitement than I had the previous two seasons. But before we dive into, the episode, what are your overall thoughts? What's your overall impression on it?
So for the first three, well, kind of like for the whole season, right? I kind of had the same thoughts. I have my hesitations, but I am coming in more excited because, again, with the finality of this season, I would imagine they're kind of locking in a little bit more, and instead of just going off on little tangents, they're okay, we got to finish the story up. That's the hope, and that was what I was. Again, I'm not gonna say expectation, but that's what I'm hoping to do. So anyway, after watching the first 3 episodes, I I did have some things I was like, okay, why did they do this? Or, okay, that's a little goofy or frustrating. But overall, I would say that the first 3 episodes were more in line with that expectation, or hope, should I say, than otherwise.
Sure.
There was a lot more serious tones, and it actually followed a pretty precise story direction for these first 3 episodes. Again, they had kind of moments where there's a little off here and there or whatever, but overall it all provided for the same narrative. It didn't have some sort of side arc where there's going off to find these bad guys who are racing pod racers or something, you know what I'm saying? So overall, I would say the first 3 episodes had some moments where it was whatever, but overall I did enjoy them more than already the whole of season 2. So I think that I think the first 3 episodes did much better, but not getting too much detail yet. But what about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I think I'm along the same lines as you. I think the premise is more intriguing to me. The locations we're dealing with are more intriguing to me. The tone is more is darker because of the situations we're dealing with, and for me, I like that.
Yeah.
That being said, obviously, this is still a kid show type thing, kind of peeks its head, and reminds you, such as the character of Omega, even though I can tell they're trying to make her less annoying, she still comes off as annoying. And in my other example of that, it is with Wrecker. It's like, obviously they're also trying to like tone down Wrecker because of the situation and because of again, they're in kind of a really dark time right now. But he still has that just absolutely just like cringy voice.
Unbearable.
This absolutely unbearable voice. And and so even when he's like trying to be serious, when he has that voice, it just sounds so stupid. I can't take it serious.
And it's like, if you were like first introduced to him like at that moment, maybe you wouldn't think it was as bad. But when we had 2 full seasons of him just being absolutely ridiculous with that voice, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I love the voice actor of what's his name? Help me out. What's his name? For the clones.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh man, yeah.
Wow. How could I not remember what his name is?
Hold on real quick.
You gotta be kidding me. I promise we like actually know what we're talking about. We're not dumb. I promise.
D. Bradley Baker.
Yes, thank you. Bradley Baker.
He's actually from the same town that we're recording in,
yes,
and we don't even know that, right?
So I'm a huge fan of him. I think he does a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love his voice work on the clones and everything, but it's just this. It's just Wrecker that really gets to me, and it's like it's just so overdone, I think, is the best way to put it.
And the thing is that he had a tough job, and he's voicing all of these people who are the same person, but yet different. You know what I'm saying? So
I think I just wish, I just think I wish they would have done went a different direction. But anyways, that's kind of getting off on a tangent. But overall, I was more pleased with these episodes so far. Now, of course, we are only 3 episodes in. There's a lot more yet to come, but I'm feeling optimistic.
Feeling
optimistic.
Well, so kind of jumping into the first episode, I have to admit, we'll maybe get into a little bit heavier detail depending on Drew if you want to, but it's like the first thing we open up to is essentially, which I thought was kind of a surprising choice, is like almost immediately it was the Bad Batch getting captured, like just immediately. And of course, Hunter tells Omega, go hide, go run away, they can't get you. And the first thing, within like 10 minutes of the episode starting, the first thing is just Omega, like usual, doing the exact opposite of what she's told with the dumbest decision possible. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And so I'm just like I get that. No, I don't get why they made that decision. But it's just so funny because I know she's a kid, but
I think what bugs me about Omega so far in this is that Omega is she's in this place, right? She's trapped there, and they're like running tests on all these clones and stuff in this facility. And within these like first 3 episodes, there are at least a couple of different times where she has opportunity to get away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But she refuses to because Crosshair is there, and Crosshair is her brother.
Yeah. Okay. Even though he's betrayed her.
Yeah, even though he's betrayed the whole team multiple times,
50
blah,
times,
blah, blah,
yeah.
and all this stuff. Still, it's her brother, and she's gonna get him out. He says to her face,
"Do not do anything."
He says to her face, "I would leave you right now if I had the chance to do it." Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I would if an opportunity arises, I would leave you without a second thought. But she still refuses, and so like that part of it kind of annoys me because it's like, if you get an opportunity to get away, run, go find the rest.
Then go get the rest. And then if you want to come back,
if you want to come back and get Crosshair, great.
It's just this. It's just like this thing, this incessant need for like these shows to prove that this one single helpless child is able to rescue the day themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think they're like, they're trying to be like this. She's so selfless and so full of love and like all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I just
not giving up on people.
I get tired of it sometimes. And
which,
like,
I mean, it's not
maybe
a bad message overall,
right?
But the execution of it is what is rough.
It's
you know what I'm
saying?
saying?
Execution of it, exactly. It's not that she wants to save Crosshair. It's the fact that she has so many opportunities to leave, and she just doesn't because Crosshair won't leave. So she's like, well, I guess we're just both gonna die. Like, I don't know what her plan is.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
So it's like, it's better that we can be together even if we're both dying and neither is surviving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, an example of that is like, again, what I was just talking about a second ago is like the very first thing that happens in the first episode was that, again, the Bad Batch gets captured, right, and they're being escorted to a shuttle. So what does she do? Instead of sneaking around, well, first of all, hiding and being safe, she should have done that because that's what Hunter told her to do.
Right.
But instead of doing that, she could have snuck around and laid booby traps and stuff. But no, what does she do? She goes up on a balcony in front of 50 armed soldiers and points her stupid little crossbow thing at them and say, like, stop. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah. So it's this constant thing, like what we were just saying, right? It's like where she's making the worst potential decisions just for the fact that she's trying to do what's right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do what's right, okay? Cool. But do smart decisions in what's doing right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's kind of like a criticism. That was like really only one of my main criticisms of this whole 3-episode thing. Really. Yeah. So I know we're harping on it pretty hard at the get-go. But again, that's the thing. I thought for me personally, that was really one of the only major frustrations I had with these 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about, like what they did right. So, again, we have a lot of forward narrative in all 3 episodes that kind of connect to each other. Like in the first episode, we see them get captured and all that stuff. Well, I guess even before that, I suppose, we see Tech supposedly fall to his death. Of course, you know how that works. If you don't see them die, we don't really know.
Well, I mean, Tech fell to his death in last season.
Well, true. That's true. Never mind. Yeah. But again, it's like, you never know, especially with the show. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's probably not actually.
Well,
dead,
again,
but...
Hemworth, or what was his name? I'm trying to remember now. The science guy, Hemlock. Hemlock like recovers his goggles and like gives it to him in that that scene in the beginning of episode 1. So it's like, that just tells me, like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, we're starting to deal with some heavier topics already. Starting that off, they get captured, and it's interesting to see interesting to see that. But really, where the story really starts to pick up is when Omega gets to the secret Empire facility, and where the cloning stuff is taking place. So,
yeah, which I do like the music that they're using within this like facility. It just has a nice like, I like it. It sounds cool.
Yeah. So, as we go, of course, what was really cool is that we got to see Nala Se after all this time, which is pretty neat. She's kind of a central figure for all the cloning stuff. So, it was just kind of neat to see her from live action to the show. She's still here, so that was pretty neat.
Yeah, and she obviously knows that Omega is special, right?
Yes.
Because we see here that Omega is getting tested. She's getting blood drawn, like all of them. They're all getting blood drawn, and then it's like they're running them through this machine, and it's like clearly it's checking for something, right?
Yeah.
Like there's something that they're trying to
compatibility,
right? And so they take her blood, and Nala Se is like basically.
It's a secret between you and me.
Yeah, and she's like, "Don't tell anybody."
Don't tell anybody. We're going to destroy this blood.
Yeah, she's like, "You're going to be in danger if they use it."
Which is interesting, is because spoiler alert, we're cutting ahead here. I mean, we already knew this, but basically what they're doing is they're testing to see if they can insert midichlorian-rich blood into clone blood and seeing if it takes and the midichlorians keep, right? So.
Yeah, which they refer to it as M count.
The M count. Oh, the M count. Yeah.
Which also, the Mandalorian called it M count.
Right. I think that's what they're shifting to.
Yeah. instead of flat out saying midichlorians, because that has a bad name to it now. So they're just calling it the M count instead.
So my point being is that somehow Nala Se knew that her blood would be able to be enriched with midichlorians. So how she knew that, I don't know. Now, maybe it was just her assumption that, because she's so special, she has certain genetics.
So is that our take on it, or are they saying that she has midichlorian blood that could be tested?
Well, I
guess that's
the how we see the scene where they're testing the blood. What happens every time is they have the blood from this clones, and then it drips in blood from some other source.
Oh, okay.
Then it tests it. Because that's what they're adding blood to the clone blood.
Gotcha.
That
makes sense.
That was what my thought was. So but again, that comes back to. So it would make more sense with what you said. If it was just like, is there already midichlorians in their blood? That would make sense that Nala Se would know that. But seeing what we see, where blood is being added to their blood, my question is how? What I'm saying? How would she know that her blood would be compatible?
Right. What is it about her that?
Yeah. Which there may be more to that we don't know yet.
I mean, I think there is.
I mean, clearly, yeah.
Clearly, there's more to Omega than what we realize, right?
So,
what is it?
What another interesting thing, though, right, is that first of all, for the longest time, we've believed that Omega was the only female clone, and so we got the kind of bomb drop, I guess, at the end of episode 1, where that one lady that we've been seeing, who's the Empire scientist or whatever, actually says that she's a clone too, and she's Omega's sister.
Actually, we knew that.
Oh, did we?
From the end of last season.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. Season 2 is just like a blur for me.
Yeah, at the end of season 2, somewhere in there, it reveals that she is and she's basically her sister, because she's a clone too.
Yeah, season 2, I didn't pay much attention to, clearly. So, anyway. All that being said is they're testing. So, but my point being is that girl, that lady, whatever, supposedly is a female clone too. She's having her blood tested, and nothing. But Omega. So again, what makes Omega special if she's a clone? And she's a clone as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah. And it definitely seems to imply, to me, I wonder if it means that who is she, what is her DNA?
Right.
Obviously, there's Jango Fett, right?
Yeah.
But is there more?
Is there
to
something
her
else
that's
Yeah,
causing?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They inserted some like maybe Jedi's blood
Yeah,
or
some
something.
Jedi's blood or something.
Or
That's
DNA, whatever you want to say.
DNA that's causing. To me, it really seems like maybe it's a Jedi. Like maybe even. I'm just throwing out something random here, but maybe even like Sifo Dyas.
Could be.
Because you know what I mean? Because
he's
he was the one that
worked
kind
with Dooku
of
and initiating all of this. Yeah.
I don't know, just some kind of something about her has to be extra special. It seems like.
Which at her age, though, it may not be Sifo Dyas. It might have been someone later on. You know
but unless they just like had
held
on to it,
yeah, it could be.
But I don't know.
Well, so
there's a lot of I mean,
we're jumping ahead here, but we already know that Asajj Ventress is going to show up at some point. So maybe it's some of her. I don't know.
Right, and I have some theories with that too. Well, let's just keep going. This is the interesting part of the whole thing. So let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about it. I mean, the rest is fine, but like that, this is really kind of the big interesting mystery for me at least of this show. So we see that they later in the episode, Nalase and Hemlock are talking, and they say they have successfully done a transfer. They say, however, it's not the same number of M counts of the original specimen, right? So within that, we kind of get, we know that was already an issue with well, because that's how we get Rey, is because Palpatine is creating all these clones, and one of the clones is Palpatine without any midichlorians, right? He has no M count.
And for some reason, he lets him just go live his life. I'm not sure how that works out.
Yeah,
that was such a weird
that's
thing,
interesting, right?
Yeah.
He just for some reason he has a son, and here I guess he ends up just keeping him as a son at first, and then
like he rebels because he doesn't like his
and then
connection to Palpatine or whatever. I don't know.
Anyways, so that is so we know that like that's kind of an issue that happens, and then but we also know that it's called in The Mandalorian season 3, they talk about Project Necromancer, right? Which is this which is the cloning stuff we already knew was going on there,
right?
And one of the reasons that they wanted Grogu and etc.
Yeah.
And so what we see here, it was later, I think it's actually in the 3rd episode, but they refer to it as Project Necromancer.
Yes, they do. Which is this was kind of funny. I thought this was a little goofy thing, is that Nalase was telling Omega, take my data pad and leave. Yeah. And it's like, because they're working on Project, and then she gets cut off. And then like not even 2 minutes later, they say Project Necromancer. It's like, why did they make some like weird
Necromancer.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why did they make some like thing like, oh, this suspenseful thing, and what is it? And then like not even 2 minutes later, they just say it. It's just like
reminds me of a movie we just watched.
I'll talk about it. But anyway, great writing.
A little callback to Madam Web there.
Yeah.
They I have to say it real quick. They refused to say Peter Parker in the movie. And it's like, even though it's so obvious, they keep referring to Peter Parker, but like they wouldn't say it.
They would
and
not say his word.
And the stuff like kept happening before they would say it. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, actually, guys, what I am gonna name him is wait, what? Something happened.
Like a balloon popped or whatever.
I'm like, what was with these balloon popping? Like, that was something added afterwards. Because that's a whole thing. We're not. This is not a Spider-Man podcast.
It's too bad we're not doing it and other stuff. We could
really just destroy that movie.
But,
we probably will.
You probably will. So anyway, and so I wonder. So we know there's a specimen that they're using, right? And we've even seen the security that they use to get back there is like it's very heavily. So it's they assume that what's ever in there is potentially dangerous. Right? And we do get, of course, shout out to Ian McDiarmid, who is back as the voice of Palpatine here, which is always exciting to see. And so we do get Palpatine, who comes in to visit to see the progress that is going on. And so we know Asajj Ventress is in this season, right? So what if Asajj Ventress is who is in there?
Yeah, it could be because it opens up that vault, but it doesn't really show who is in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, but again, though, if you remember, there was like several vaults in that room.
Right.
So is it a Ventress thing? You know, because when I immediately thought it or saw it, it almost made me think it was like, again, the early clones of Palpatine. That's why there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then because they wouldn't show it, it almost made you think that it was, you know, again, somebody that they're pulling the blood from. I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I wonder if they're taking, because my thought is they have, I mean, so they're seeking a vessel, right, that can take a midichlorian count and maintain that midichlorian count.
Right, so he can transfer
so that
his
eventually
spirit.
they could transfer Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be Palpatine right now that they're doing that with.
Sure, yeah.
So, you know, I've heard some people speculate maybe it's Grogu.
Yeah, well, that'd be a crazy reveal.
Right. I don't necessarily like that idea.
I don't think that's how. I don't think this is how they would reveal that personally.
Yeah.
But
So I'm leaning more towards it is just a Palpatine in there, or it's Asajj Ventress, because Asajj Ventress, as we know, died in a book, right? But she's back somehow. So
she's back somehow. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Where we heard that.
Yeah.
Where we heard that before.
Yeah. So there's we've talked. Maybe they're going back, going back and a flashback, and she's in it that way.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to trick us into thinking she's still around.
Yeah.
And I wonder if she's maybe a clone of her, right?
Yeah.
So they're maybe taking,
which that wouldn't make total sense, right? Because it's like the whole point of what they're doing in this whole thing is to figure out how to transfer or how to clone people and keep midichlorians. So like, why would they be using a clone of her? I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, so I'm saying her actual dead body is in there. And that's what they're using as DNA.
I see. Okay.
And then they've cloned her.
And that's what all those other
And that's what
things are.
all those other things are trying. They're trying
to.
Now, because they said they did it. They successfully have already done it, but did not maintain the same midichlorian count.
Yeah.
So that could be her that they're talking about.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but since it didn't work, the vessel wasn't good enough. They're still looking for a better vessel, right? So they have this person that they're just probably going to plan on throwing away, which then later in the series they might come to find her, and then that could be a whole plot that they're working through. But it's just a theory. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm completely off, but I think that's one way they could kind of bring her back. Or they're just all Palpatine in there.
Who knows? Well, that's the thing. We would all, if we were just watching this, we would only think it was Palpatine clones. But the only reason we're even thinking that it's Asajj Ventress is just because she happened to be in the trailer.
Because they showed her.
Yeah,
and that's the only reason.
I don't know. So either that was a really bad decision on their part, or it's a complete throw off. So I don't know.
Well, because it's just like, well, how did she come back?
Yeah.
But
so, and then cloning was, as we already talked about, like, cloning would be the only way that could happen. But anyway,
which, in the second episode, we see Wrecker and what's his name? Hunter, right? And they're off doing stuff, and this is where we see some young clone troopers, right, that have been left there in the jungle or whatever.
Yeah, like when they left their facilities, they just kind of left some of them behind,
right,
figuring they probably would just die.
Right. So we see that again. It's just more example of that they don't care about the clones, and they just kind of leave them to die. and this is I struggled a little bit with this episode because Wrecker's voice and he was supposed to, and he was like, and there's all these like serious moments, but Wrecker still just has that voice that's just absolutely horrible.
And D just loves it.
He's just like, man, I just killed that. That was
just
flawless.
Destroyed that recording session. It's so good.
And this is kind of a monster of the week a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
It does progress the narrative. The biggest thing is that they see that Hemlock's base is on another planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the big thing. Because now they know the sector.
Yeah.
So they're one step closer to being in the right direction.
Right.
And that's kind of the big thing is
right.
They know now where to head to find where Omega's at. So that's kind of where it progresses the narrative. And so that's better than previous seasons where they go back to the one stupid lady at the cantina and say, oh, we lost the money again or whatever, or lost the treasure or whatever.
We literally got nothing out of this for this one tiny little piece of information or something.
Every single time that was what would happen. So,
gosh,
so I'm glad we're over that. But
also though, those this song with like the monster or whatever, dude. As a Halo fan, that reminded me so much of the Flood. It's not even funny. And then the big monster reminded me of what's it called? Something Mind. Grave Mind. Grave Mind. Remember what I'm talking about? The big monster. Yeah. Anyway, so if you're if you're Halo fans, you know what we're talking about. But anyway,
yeah, for sure.
Cool thing.
Yeah, so and then the third episode, which we did already kind of talk about some, but starts back with Omega and kind of still just always doing that same thing, and this is where Palpatine shows up, and one thing that's really important about this whole episode, I would say the biggest thing that happens is that they do finally get to test her blood.
Yes, because Nalase is preoccupied with having to be with the other guy, and so the older clone woman ends up running her blood. So yeah.
So they finally run it, and they see that it's compatible, and so they find that out, and at the same time they just so happen to escape. Her and Crosshair.
Yeah.
Who I guess is kind of like
redeemed a little bit or something.
Redeeming, like kind of coming back into.
Well, I do think that I do think they kind of tried to nail home that like he's finally seen the Empire for what it is.
Yeah, but like if it takes you this long, do you deserve to live? I mean, he's got to die, right?
He's gonna have a heroic death, He's
got to die. He's gonna have to go out
with a bang.
Listen, in Star Wars, if you do bad stuff, you have to die. You know what I mean?
Your punishment is death.
You don't get to live like you can go out in a blaze of glory, but like you're still gonna die.
Yeah.
Like Kylo Ren, right? Anakin Skywalker. People who if you did bad, you are going to die.
You will die.
You can be good, but you're still gonna die.
You can turn back at the end, but it doesn't really truly matter.
So I think that Crosshair is definitely gonna die. But I do think he's going to die redeemed, which there was a point where I didn't know that was ever going to be the case.
True.
There were times where I was like, ooh, I think he's maybe too far gone. He was going to, but obviously they're definitely working on redeeming him, which, I have mixed feelings about, but hey, they redeemed Darth Vader. So, I mean,
true.
Think all the horrible things he did. So.
Yeah.
It's hard to be too critical of that when
because that is a theme. It is a theme in Star Wars.
It's a theme of Star Wars,
redemption,
right? Redemption. Yeah,
coming back after
redemption.
It's bad mistakes.
Yeah, it's obviously a big part of Star Wars. So like it's to be expected.
Yeah.
But I think a couple things. I'm really curious to see how the whole clone thing plays out through this season, right? And if it's just like, oh, it is Palpatine and blah blah blah, or if they have some surprises under their or like in their sleeve with it, right? Because I hope there's some like twist to it. obviously we know it's not going to be successful. It
not
can't
fully
be
successful.
not fully successful because they're still working on it in Mando, and that's like how many years later?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're still technically working on it in the sequel trilogy because it's like it's imperfect and
Yeah, I mean, they never truly master it.
Yeah,
but the point at that point, the whole reason, at least they claim, was that it was his midichlorians is just too much. Like he just
couldn't handle
it. Like a body can't handle like his power.
Yeah.
Which it is
kind of a cop out, but kind of makes sense at the same time. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So I think that the other big mystery is what happens to the rest of the Bad Batch, True. And I think that's like sorry, our outro music is playing right now.
It's so loud.
And it is
very
so
distracting.
Loud. So anyways, I apologize if you hear
it right
they're
now. Anyway.
I really thought that we would be shorter today on our episode.
Nope, apparently
than
not.
Last episode.
We had 3 full episodes to talk about those. So
yeah. So anyways, I'm trying to think. I wonder if they hear it right now. I mean, they probably do, don't they?
Well, playing through.
It's playing through our headphones, but it's probably leaking out.
Mic.
So it's like probably kind of confusing. But the other big thing that we have to ask and think about is like what happens with the rest of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So are they all gonna survive or are they all gonna die, or it's like it's kind of and Omega, right? So this character that they've introduced,
because again, if they are still alive, where they've been this whole time in the later stories,
mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
And Omega, right? Like
well, I'm seeing all of them. You know what I'm saying? But
is basically Boba Fett's sister, right? So
exactly.
So that could be a whole.
Come to find out, Boba Fett really did die. And it's actually Omega. I could see that being the case. She just shaved her head and gained a few pounds, and I don't know. Oh, we'll see.
That explains the shift in character, right?
Exactly. He's no longer like kind of cold-hearted, mysterious. He's like, he has to save everybody to a fault.
I like that.
Honestly, that would make the Boba Fett series so much better. I think
that brings the Boba Fett series in a whole new light. Like I'm going back and rewatching it tonight.
I'd have to rewatch that with that knowledge. So Disney, hey, reach out to us, get some licensing rights.
The book. Boba Fett, the Book of Omega.
The Alpha in the Omega book. I don't know.
I think that's the Bible.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Anyways, I think that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on it. We definitely want to know what you guys think. So please comment. Let us know. Let us know if you're kind of with us that, hey, this is kind of off to a better start. Let us know if you even plan on watching it, or if you've already given up and you don't even have any. We'd like to know where our listeners are at with the Bad Batch as far as the season goes. Let us know.
And there's some of you. I think it was either JB or Corey. I can't remember which one. Was actually excited. They said that I was in the minority, but I actually liked Bad Batch. So is season 3 living up to your expectations? So let us know in the comments, and we're gonna go ahead and close off. But before we do close off, I want to give you your trivia answer for the week. And just to refresh your memory, the question was, what were Luke's aunt and uncle's jobs on Tatooine? And that was they were moisture farmers. Whoa! So maybe a little bit more difficult question this week. So hopefully you guys got that right, and we'll be checking those comments for your answers.
I just want you to know I got it right. So.
Well, I didn't see your comment, but anyway.
I commented in my head.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, guys, we just want to thank everybody so much for you listening to the podcast and continuing to support us in all the ways that you do. We absolutely do it for you guys, and we're so thankful for you guys being here with us. But we do look forward to hearing from you regarding this podcast, or if you want to reach out to us about anything we do, we'd love to hear from you. And of course, as usual, we also want to thank our good friends over at Galactic Empire for allowing us to use their music for our intro and outro. Absolutely awesome stuff there, and you should go check them out. But please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for all the things that we try to post out there, and for any updates that comes for the podcast or anything we do will be on those pages. But we also would ask you to please follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And if you would be so kind as to leave us a review, that really does help. But overall, we thank you so much for listening and hope that you join us next time for the next episode. Last but not least, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.